Hello and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. President-elect Joe Biden says he wants to restore the soul of the U.S., pledging to unify the country. In his victory address, Biden says his first task is to get the coronavirus pandemic under control. The 77-year-old Democrat declared victory after he overtook Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, securing 279 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has made history after being elected as the first female vice president of the United States. Trump refuses to concede defeat, saying the election is far from over and it will be decided by courts. In Afghanistan, at least 8 people have been killed when 3 mortars hit the residential area in Ghazni. Security officials blame the Taliban for the attack, but they are yet to respond to the allegations. Azerbaijan says it has liberated the city of Shusha from the Armenian occupation after more than 28 years. The city is of huge strategic importance in the Nagorno-Karabakh region, where fighting has raged for more than a month. Earlier, Baku said Armenian troops are continuously targeting civilians in Tatar, Barda, Argdam, Akjabadi and Gobaldi regions. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and now the news in detail. Democrat Joe Biden has won the race for the White House, convincingly crossing the 270 electoral votes mark. The president-elect has said uniting Americans and taking on the COVID-19 pandemic surging in the country as his priority. More in the following report.
After an exhausting 4 days of waiting after polls closed on Tuesday, Joe Biden declared victory after he overtook Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, securing 279 electoral votes. In his victory address to Americans deeply divided along political and racial lines over the past 4 years, Biden said he wants to restore the soul of the United States, vowing to unify the country. Addressing Trump supporters, Biden said he understood their disappointment and asked to give each other a chance.
I said at the outset, I wanted to represent this campaign to represent and look like America. We've done that. Now that's what I want the administration to look like and act like. For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself, but now let's give each other a chance. It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again. And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies. They are Americans. They're Americans.
Joe Biden's running mate Kamala Harris has made history to be the first female, first Black, and first Asian American vice president-elect. Addressing the crowd in Delaware, Kamala Harris said the president-elect had the audacity to break a substantial barrier that exists in the United States, selecting a woman as his vice president.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump refuses to concede defeat, saying the election is far from over and it will be decided by the courts. White House officials say they're abiding by the statutory requirements but declining to provide details. Although the United States law maps out instructions for an orderly presidential transition, the Trump to Biden transition appears to be a bumpy road ahead.
A festive atmosphere took over the streets across the U.S. as thousands of jubilant Joe Biden supporters celebrated his victory in the presidential election. More in this report.
Days of pent-up post-election anxiety gave way to spontaneous street celebrations as Joe Biden's supporters cheered news of his presidential win with a cacophony of banging pots and pans and honking horns in cities across the United States. Hundreds of people danced, cheered, and waved flags just yards from the White House grounds. In Washington Square Park, young supporters ran through a fountain and danced. In Times Square, cyclists performed stunts to celebrate their new leader's victory. In downtown Los Angeles, a mass protest against Donald Trump turned into a victory celebration.
I'm a little bummed that the country still feels so divided. I think we would have hoped for a more overwhelming anti-Trump kind of stance, but I think it just shows how much work that Biden has to do. He's got a lot of uniting to do, and I really hope he's up to the task, honestly. Oh my gosh, I feel so ecstatic. I'm so happy, and I think I just feel relieved. I just feel relieved. I can breathe, and today we're gonna celebrate. Today, all day, nothing can bring me down.
Cher, Ariana Grande, and Kim Kardashian were among the celebrities who cheered minutes after Joe Biden's win. Rallies by hundreds of supporters of Donald Trump were more muted in size and scope compared with the festive crowds.
I encourage President Trump to continue his lawsuits and, fight for, the stealing of this, to stop the stealing of this election.
While there were some isolated instances of Trump and Biden supporters confronting one another, however, there were no immediate reports of violence or other unruly behavior.
Leaders around the globe are congratulating U.S. President-elect Joe Biden. They hope for better ties with America under a new administration.
Pakistan's President Dr. Arif Alvi congratulated newly elected President Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Prime Minister Imran Khan expressed hope to work with the United States for peace in the region and Afghanistan. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani says the next United States government should compensate for Trump's mistakes. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas congratulated Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he is looking forward to work with the newly elected president and vice president. In her congratulatory message, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the transatlantic friendship is irreplaceable if they master great challenges of the time. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said London is looking forward to work closely together on shared priorities, from climate change to trade and security. In a tweet, European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said she warmly congratulated Joe Biden on his victory. Japan's Prime Minister Yoshida Suga said he is looking forward to further strengthening the alliance and ensuring peace, freedom, and prosperity. Meanwhile, contrary to many others, Mexico's President Andrés López Obrador says he will wait for the electoral process to be over to congratulate any winner.
In Afghanistan, at least 8 people have been killed when 3 mortars hit the residential area in Ghazni. Security officials blame the Taliban for the attack, but they are yet to respond to the allegations. Earlier, the Afghan government claimed to have killed 30 Taliban fighters in counterattacks in different areas, but the Taliban have made no immediate confirmation. The two sides are fighting each other despite the ongoing deliberation on the framework of peace talks in Doha. Azerbaijan says it has liberated the city of Shusha from the Armenian occupation after 28 years. The city is considered a strategic fortress and a key to control over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Azeri President Ilham Aliyev said November 8 will go down in history as a day of glorious victory. Earlier, Baku said Armenian troops are continuously targeting civilians in Tatar, Barda, Aghtam, Aghjabadi and Gobaldi regions. The Defense Ministry said its forces hit military targets of Armenia in retaliatory measures. Over 1,200 people have been killed in nearly 6 weeks of fighting in and around Nagorno-Karabakh. In Iran, President Hassan Rouhani says the U.S. has an opportunity to compensate for its previous mistakes following Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election. In a statement, Rouhani expressed hope the next U.S. administration will return to the nuclear deal commitments. He said America's policy of maximum pressure is doomed to fail. The country is reeling under sanctions imposed by the United States after former President Donald Trump quit the nuclear deal in 2018. In occupied Kashmir, Indian troops have martyred 3 more Kashmiris during a military operation in the Kupwara district. This brings the death toll from fake encounters by Indian troops to 6 in the last 3 days. The region has been under a curfew and communications blackout since India revoked its autonomy in August last year. Indian troops have killed more than 300 Kashmiris during the said period and arrested dozens of politicians to silent dissent. In Myanmar, vote counting has begun in second general election in over 5 decades. Over 37 million people were eligible to vote set to elect the bicameral parliament. Of the 224 seats in the House, 168 are directly elected, while 56 are military appointees. Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy is expected to win the second term, but pre-poll surveys show Suu Kyi's party is likely to get lesser seats this time around. The Human Rights Watch has decreed the elections as fundamentally flawed. Suu Kyi's government reputation crumbled internationally amid allegations of Rohingya Muslim genocide. In Thailand, police have fired water cannons on thousands of protesters as they marched towards the royal offices, demanding reforms to the monarchy. They're also calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha and a new constitution. Anti-government protests emerged last year after a court banned a political party critical of the Prime Minister. The protests have intensified since July, breaking a long-standing taboo against the criticism of the royal family. The criticism of monarchy is punishable by 15 years in prison under Thailand's laws. Lebanon's President Michel Aoun has asked for proof against his son-in-law Gabriel Bassel to justify the latest U.S. sanctions. On Friday, Washington sanctioned Bassel over charges of corruption and human rights violations. Lebanese presidency says Aoun has asked his government to obtain the documents related to the accusations. It said the president also called for handing over the documents to Lebanese judiciary to take necessary measures. In September, Aoun issued similar directives after Washington blacklisted 2 former government ministers. Bassel heads Lebanon's biggest Christian political bloc, the Free Patriotic Movement. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has sacked his army chief, foreign minister, and the head of intelligence. The development comes as the military continues its offensive by conducting airstrikes in the restive Tigray region. In a tweet, Ahmed's office said Deputy Premier Demeke Mekonnen has been appointed the new foreign minister. It said Berhanu Juala was prompted to Army Chief of Staff. Last week, Ethiopian jets bombed the region of Tigray over its unilateral decision to elect a regional administration against Prime Minister's wishes. The conflict drew international calls for restraint, with a warning that clashes could spark a civil war and displace around 9 million people. Welcome back, and now moving on to France has registered record over 80,000 daily COVID-19 cases, with the tally crossing 1.7 million. Globally, the virus has claimed nearly 1.25 million lives and infected 49.7 million people. A virus-related roundup in this report.
Europe has once again become the virus hotspot, with record cases in every other country on every other day. Even though France has been under lockdown for a little over a week now, the country continues to report record spike in cases. The country's death toll has crossed 40,000 after 306 people lost their life to the virus overnight. Portugal has imposed a nighttime curfew as the country enters a 15-day state of emergency after infections hit record. While Germany reported more than 23,000 cases in the last 24 hours, several thousand came out to protest the government's restrictions. Scuffles broke out between coronavirus skeptics and police in the streets of Leipzig.
We can say that it is still peaceful. In various parts in the city, there are some individual quarrels between people wearing masks and who are understandably upset about people not wearing them with regards to health safety. The situation sometimes gets a bit heated. We had several incidences where we had to intervene.
Over in Asia, Some countries are already witnessing the second wave of the novel coronavirus, but India remains the worst hit in the region and the second worst hotspot in the entire world. The virus has claimed 126,000 lives in India so far, infecting more than 8.5 million. Medics in the country say the government has failed to implement strict rules.
The cases have resurged in some countries and probably in Delhi and Mumbai in India, so the people should continue taking precautions. People became negligent for some time. They are seen roaming in the markets, in crowded places, and in the election rallies without masks. The chances of the resurgence of coronavirus cases will increase in such a situation.
The US continues to be on the top of the worst hit countries. Texas has become the first US state to exceed 1 million coronavirus cases. Over in Latin America, Mexico's death rate is alarmingly high, while the caseload approaches 1 million. Health officials have said the real number of infections and deaths is likely significantly higher.
In Pakistan, 25 people have lost their lives to COVID-19 over the past 24 hours. The health ministry says the country's death toll has risen to 6,968. It said over 1,400 people tested positive for the disease overnight. The ministry said there are nearly 18,000 active COVID-19 cases in the country. It said out of over 343,000 countrywide cases, more than 318,000 have recovered so far. The ministry said over 149,000 cases have been detected in the Sindh province, while Punjab has reported over 106,000 cases. Argentina has agreed to a deal with AstraZeneca over its COVID-19 vaccine. Under the deal, the South American country will acquire around 22 million doses of the vaccine. AstraZeneca is developing the vaccine in collaboration with Oxford University. The drug maker says the delivery time frame depends on the success of ongoing trials. In a statement, it said after regulatory authorities' approval, Argentina will receive the drug in the first half of 2021. Argentina has lost 1.23 million cases of COVID-19 and over 33,000 deaths. The joint military drills between Pakistan and Russia has begun in the Tarbela area of the Haripur district. Russian envoy to Pakistan, Danila Ganich, and senior officials from both countries attended the opening ceremony. The Pakistan military's media wing says the two armies will share expertise in counter-terrorism. It said the exercise will focus on skydiving and hostage rescue operations. Dubbed Druzhba, the drills were first held in 2016 and will continue for 2 weeks. The United Kingdom has assured the next US administration it will not put at the risk 1998 peace agreement for Northern Ireland. In an interview, Foreign Minister Dominic Raab said Britain will never jeopardize the Good Friday Agreement. He accused the European Union of putting pressure on the pact with its approach to Brexit talks, but said an agreement is possible if the bloc shows flexibility.
There's progress being made, but we've got to see whether it's enough to get us over the line. There are some core interests at stake for the UK, points of democratic principle around control of our laws, control of our fisheries as an independent coastal state. I don't think we can toss those aside, but if the EU shows the flexibility, the goodwill to meet us halfway, I am confident a deal can still be done.
Former President of Bolivia, Evo Morales, says he will return to his country from Argentina tomorrow. He will return to Bolivia after the inauguration of President-elect Luis Arce. Speaking to reporters in Buenos Aires, Morales said he will be crossing the border and hoped there won't be any legal problems. The former president will be returning nearly 1 year after resigning under pressure. He faced allegations of fraud during the presidential election. Morales remains the president of Arce's party, the Movement Towards Socialism. He also played a key role in picking Arce as the party's candidate. Japan has formally declared Crown Prince Fumihito as first line in the chrysanthemum throne. The ceremony was scheduled for April but postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. This concludes a series of imperial succession rituals that began in May last year when his brother Naruhito ascended to the throne. Better known as Prince Akashino, he is one of just 3 heirs to the throne along with Hisahito and Prince Hitachi. Imperial Japanese law only permits men to inherit the throne, making Naruhito's daughter Princess Aiko ineligible. Moves to amend the law lost steam when Akashino's wife bore a son, Hisahito, in 2006. Tropical storm Eta is lashing the Caribbean with torrential rainfall and damaging winds as it approaches Cuba. The National Hurricane Center predicts isolated rainfall totals of over 2 feet for both Cuba and the Cayman Islands in the coming days. It said the high rainfall could lead to life-threatening flash floods and landslides in areas with higher terrain. In the U.S. state of Florida, an emergency has been declared for 8 countries as the storm approaches. Earlier, Eta unleashed havoc in Central American state of Guatemala, killing over 100 people in mudslides. Bad weather continues to hamper rescue efforts while roads are still blocked and large areas remain flooded. The World Health Organization says 6 countries have reported coronavirus cases among farmed minks. These include Denmark, the United States, Italy, the Netherlands, Sweden and Spain. The WHO said it will review the biosafety of mink farms worldwide. 5 so-called clusters of coronavirus mutations derived from farmed minks in Denmark have now been found in 214 people. The Danish State Serum Institute says most problematic cluster 5 may have resistance to antibodies with its spike protein. The Danish government says it will euthanize all minks in Denmark. One strain which has prompted Denmark to cut its entire herd of mink has, however, only been found in 12 people. Meanwhile, the UK has banned entry to visitors from Denmark due to outbreaks of coronavirus on Danish mink farms. At the 3rd China International Import Expo in East China, Shanghai, vehicles with advanced technologies and innovative designs are catching visitors' eye. More in this report.
Battery electric vehicles are the mainstream in the auto area at China's Import Expo this year. Almost all famous brands have brought their new models or concept vehicles. The most eye-catching vehicle is a golden Apollo Intensa Emotion hypercar featuring the first all-carbon fiber production chassis of its kind. It weighs only 1.2 tons and realizes a 0 to 100 meters per hour acceleration within 2.7 seconds only. With the price of $3 million, the car has already been sold. Automated driving is another keyword in this year's exhibition.
Automated driving is a long industrial chain which can't be completed by one company. It requires the cooperation of original equipment manufacturer and suppliers. So that's one reason for our focus on the CIIE, because it helps us to deepen the relations with our cooperative partner while developing new partnership.
A Mercedes-Benz Arox double-decker motorhome also surprised visitors with its functions. The motorhome consists of 3 bedrooms and a living room, together with a well-equipped kitchen and a bathroom. This all-terrain motorhome sells for nearly $1.6 million. The 3rd CIIE kicked off on November 5th and will run until November 10th.
A university in East China is using robots to deliver parcels for its students during the Singles' Day shopping season. More in this report.
Alibaba launched the annual online shopping promotion on November 11, 2009. Many Chinese young people celebrate this as a Singles' Day. They picked the date because 11/11 resembles 4 bear sticks, a Chinese term for a bachelor. Now, with the help of robots, students at Zhejiang University can get their packages in 10 minutes after booking for the service on their mobile phones.
The robots will arrive at our dormitory building and we just need to come downstairs at the appointed time and location to pick up our packages.
China says it has sent the world's first 6G experimental satellite into space. Local media said the experimental satellite will verify the terahertz communication technology in space. The report said it is among 3 Chinese satellites that are successfully launched into orbit, developed by an Argentinian company. They were launched from a center in northern Shaanxi province. In September, China launched its 3rd maritime satellite into space to help in Beijing's mapping efforts. Meanwhile, China's new commercial rocket Ceres-1 has completed its maiden flight in northwest Gansu province. In Egypt, a young table tennis player is making waves after being ranked #1 globally in the under-15s. She is the first African player to have done so. More in the following report.
12-year-old Hannah Gata may not be the youngest table tennis player to compete professionally, but her performance in various local, regional, and global competition has seen her rise through the ranks, and she is now well on her way to achieving her Olympic dreams. She played a winning match last year in the Egyptian National Championships against 27-year-old Zamalek club player Farah Abdulaziz.
Everyone was astonished, but at the same time happy for me because they weren't expecting I would win the women's competition. I enjoy playing with older players because I love it when the match is hard. I like playing with experts, but also the easier ones.
Yoda was just 4 years old when she started playing for Egyptian Al Ahly club. And almost 7 years later, she has earned herself global recognition.
We have a plan for her and God willing she will achieve it. We had planned for her to be the #1 in the world this year, and thankfully with all the competitions she won, she has become the #1 player in the world. In Egypt, it was such a surprise for us that she also won the Egyptian Women's Tournament.
The Tennis Federation has described her as a 12-year-old, setting unprecedented standards.
And for the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.